No one was truly prepared for that moment. Even those accustomed to seeing surprises on the runway froze. Shanghai stepped out first, followed by Songyun, both carrying glowing laser swords that looked like they had been ripped straight from the future. The lights weren't just accessories, they were the center of attention, cutting through the glamorous atmosphere with a sci-fi feel that was both stark and captivating. The seconds seemed to slow as cameras began flashing non-stop. The photographers, usually calm and measured, now looked both panicked and mesmerized. They raced to capture every angle, every dramatic movement of the two stars who seemed to know how to create unforgettable moments. Shanghai, with his confident stride and piercing gaze, wielded his red sword as if it were an extension of his charisma. Every pose he struck felt like a scene from a major movie, not just a fashion show. Meanwhile, Songyun presented the perfect contrast, soft yet powerful, elegant yet bold, with a gleaming green sword in her hand. What made this all the more jarring was how they combined seemingly impossible elements. Luxury fashion, synonymous with classic elegance, suddenly met a wild, experimental, futuristic aesthetic. And strangely, instead of feeling strange, the combination felt right. Some guests whispered to each other, trying to decipher whether this was part of a grander concept or an unexpected improvisation. But one thing was certain: no one could tear their eyes away. Even the celebrities, who were usually the center of attention, were now mere spectators in this extraordinary moment. As Shanghai paused in the middle of the red carpet, he raised his sword slightly higher, letting the red light wash over his face. The stage lights cast dramatic shadows that made him look like a character from another world. Applause erupted, tentative at first, then louder. Songyun was no less captivating. She twirled slowly, her dress flowing with her movements, while the green light from her sword created an almost magical visual effect. For one brief moment, she smiled, and it was a smile that seemed to convey that she was fully enjoying the beautiful chaos unfolding. The few fashion critics in attendance looked bewildered. They were used to analyzing fabric cuts, silhouettes, and colors. But this time, they were faced with something bigger, a performance that transcended the clothes themselves. This wasn't just about the clothes, it was about the experience. Meanwhile, social media exploded. Short videos of their performances immediately went viral, sparking mixed reactions. Some called it genius, others deemed it overdone. But it was precisely that debate that made the moment even more vibrant. One industry observer was even heard to say that this was a turning point, that fashion was no longer just about traditional aesthetics, but also about the courage to experiment, even if it meant breaking all the rules. As they continued, the atmosphere became more energetic. The background music seemed to adapt, becoming more intense, more dramatic. It was as if the entire show had transformed to match the energy they brought. Shanghai and Songyun weren't just walking, they were telling a story. Every step, every pose, every interaction with the camera formed a narrative that was difficult to define but easy to feel. A story about the future, about courage, about identity. Several designers in attendance nodded slowly, as if realizing something, that the lines between fashion and entertainment were blurring, and perhaps that was precisely the beauty. When creativity was no longer confined by categories. As they reached the end of the carpet, the moment wasn't over. They stood side by side, raising their swords simultaneously, creating a fusion of red and green lights that merged in the air. A simple symbol, yet imbued with meaning. The applause was now louder, more sincere. Even those who had initially been skeptical couldn't deny that they had just witnessed something different. Something that would likely be remembered for years to come. Beneath all the pomp, one question remained. Was this simply a sensational stunt, or the beginning of a new era in fashion? No one truly knew. But one thing was for certain: standards had changed. As the lights dimmed and they left the stage, the atmosphere was still filled with an indescribable energy. People continued to talk, analyze, even debate. The moment didn't end when they left. It lived on in conversations. Hours later, images and videos of the performance continued to circulate. Every angle, every detail was reanalyzed, as if everyone was trying to capture the essence of what had just happened. But perhaps that essence truly couldn't be fully explained, because sometimes magic doesn't need to be fully understood. Sometimes it just needs to be felt. And that night, on what should have been an ordinary fashion show, Songyun and Songyun had created something more than just a show. They had created a moment. But the story wasn't over yet. Behind the scenes, whispers began to emerge from the crew and VIP guests watching from different angles. They revealed that the concept of the performance had been kept secret until the last moment, even from most of the production team. The decision to bring laser swords wasn't just a gimmick, but part of a precisely crafted visual narrative. Some industry insiders said such boldness was rare on such a grand stage. Typically, major fashion houses play it safe, maintaining their image and traditions. But this time, there was something different, as if there was a strong urge to push the boundaries and create something completely new, something that couldn't be easily imitated. Interestingly, the expressions of the other models who walked after them also changed. There was a slight sense of pressure, as if the standard of the show had been drastically raised in a matter of minutes. Some models attempted more dramatic gestures, but the aura left by Songyun and Songyun remained unmatched. Meanwhile, fans watching from outside the venue were no less excited. They gathered around the large screens and the entrance, trying to catch a glimpse of the moment. When the footage of the performance was replayed, cheers and screams rang out, creating an atmosphere that almost resembled a grand concert, rather than just a fashion show. This phenomenon has sparked a broader discussion about the direction of the entertainment and fashion industries. Will cross-genre collaborations like this become the new norm? Or is this just a rare moment that will be difficult to replicate? These questions continue to resonate, especially among a younger generation hungry for innovation. Some analysts are even beginning to predict that the future of fashion shows will become increasingly theatrical, that runways will no longer be simply a place to showcase clothes, but a stage for storytelling, a platform for creating experiences that directly touch the audience's emotions. Meanwhile, Songyun and Songyun's image is solidifying as icons who not only follow trends but also create them. They are not mere guests, but key elements that change the dynamics of the entire event. Amidst all the spotlight, there's one small detail that loyal fans are beginning to notice: the impeccable synchronization of their movements. It's as if every step has been rehearsed countless times, every pose meticulously calculated, yet it still feels natural and spontaneous. And perhaps therein lies the true power of this moment. Not just in the striking visuals or the bold concept, but in the ability to make it all feel lived in, real, and meaningful. A show that isn't just seen, but felt, and that will linger long after the lights go out. But the more people talk about it, the more it becomes clear that this moment was more than just a fleeting visual jolt. There were layers of emotions that the audience slowly began to recognize: awe, confusion, even a little intimidation by the sheer audacity of the display. Many began to realize that they were witnessing more than just an act, but a statement. Some fans even began to associate the performance with deeper symbolism. The red and green lights were no longer simply distinctive colors, but rather represented dualities: tradition and future, classic and modern, reality and imagination. This interpretation spread widely, enriching the meaning of an already visually powerful moment. Beneath it all, there was also a lingering curiosity. How did this idea first emerge? Who dared propose such a distinct concept? And how were the two actors able to execute it so flawlessly without losing their identities as elegant public figures? The more questions arose, the greater the fascination. The media began digging deeper, trying to uncover the behind-the-scenes story. But precisely because the mystery wasn't fully revealed, its magic remained. Sometimes, the unknown makes a moment more enduring. As time passed, one thing became increasingly certain: this performance had left a lasting mark. It became a reference, a benchmark, perhaps even a new standard for future performances. Not everyone would agree or like it, but no one could ignore it. And ultimately, perhaps that was the true purpose. Not to please everyone, but to make everyone pause, pay attention, and remember. Because in a world filled with things that are quickly forgotten, a moment like this is a rare thing, something that truly endures.